In today's video, we're going to talk about the Flash movie. It comes out officially June the 16th, although there has been some fan screenings. Although apparently these fan screenings are going towards the box office numbers, which is very strange. So, yo, what is freaking good YouTube? Voice you here with a video on the Flash. If you are new around it, make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the Marvel, DC, pop culture, kaiju, monsterverse-based content that we cover on a daily basis. If you could subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, and let me know down below if you've seen the Flash movie. Was it as good as you thought? Remember, until the movie comes out June the 16th, or at least until the press screenings, which are happening the week before the movie comes out, you haven't actually seen the real movie. So, also, if you could check us out on Instagram at WashG to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful face. And also, if you could check us out on Twitter, WashG. Right, let's get into this video. So, there's been lots of interesting reactions when it comes to this movie. There's been over-the-top praise for this movie, saying it's the greatest movie ever. I'm not inclined to believe it's the greatest movie ever, let's be honest. There has been some really positive reviews. There's also been some really negative reviews dating back to when the first viewing happened at CinemaCon. And realistically, regardless to what anybody tells you, what they are screening in America is no different to the CinemaCon version, although some clout chasers will try and grift you into thinking that. So, Jeff Snyder said this on April the 26th. The Flash first hour is pretty fantastic, strikes a perfect tone, Ezra is great, heroic, funny, emotional. The last hour is mostly terrible, just an utter mess that will leave you asking, what the hell is going on? Fan service and DC villain problem strikes. Again, mixed bag. Then Jeff Snyder went on to say this. Just scanned initial reactions embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for my profession. Not even a whiff of criticism. A bunch of easy lays, I tell ya. There's only a handful of critical voices you can trust these days. And it's sad, and yes, I know this tweet is going to get me killed. So it is interesting because we live in this social media world where you can't actually enjoy a movie and still have criticism for it, which I find really idiotical, because you can love something but then still dislike some things at the same time. So that was a reaction back then. There's been more reactions about this movie. Attended an early Flash screening, and surprise, no one, it was terrible. It was what you expect, but the worst Batman and Ezra Miller together, the writing is just as mediocre as the visuals. Sasha Calle's Supergirl is the only saving grace for this monstrous movie. And to be honest, when it comes to the visuals being off, they have no excuse. I know what you can say. Oh, it's not the final cut. All right, lads. All right, ladettes. They've had over 1 year extra time. Remember, this movie was supposed to come out last summer. And I know what you're going to say. The Defense League is going to come out, but Ezra Miller's playing two different people. Okay, cool. But he's got a stunt double that looks pretty similar to him, and all the most realistic you're going to do is digitizing his face into it. So if the visuals are off on this movie, there is literally no excuse. They delayed the whole movie for a whole year. Sure, there were minor reshoots, minor retooling, minor reshuffling, using archive footage, etc. But if any of the criticism comes down to the VFX, there is literally no excuse. Why should you overlay an image now? So yesterday, they released a trailer because tickets went on sale. Did you buy tickets? I have no idea why people would run out to buy tickets for a movie when realistically, you can watch the movie pretty quick. So the visuals in all the trailers, it is off. It's completely off. And not just the Ezra Miller body double off. Sasha Calle's Supergirl, why should you overlay an image now? And I'm just not nitpicking, but there is a lot of criticism for the VFX being off, but not taking you out of the movie completely. But realistically, most of the criticism is positive. Of course, but I've even seen SnyderVerse bros saying this is a really cool movie, to the point where they are saying, careful spoilers, don't ruin your life, you would think this is a SnyderVerse movie. Realistically, you would think this is a SnyderVerse movie, like canonized. There's parts of this movie which makes it canon to the SnyderVerse, but it's got to be canon to SnyderVerse because everything that came before still stands. And it is really interesting and fascinating to me how a lot of the earlier rumors and the earlier leaks, but we do have to bear in mind that most of the leaks, most of the plot leaks were real somewhat, because 90% of the plot is still consistently the same. But people are like, yo, you would have thought this was a SnyderVerse movie. Even the way the run-in, you see the trailers, even the Zod, even the Fayara, even the Sasha Calle Supergirl fight with Zod, they have literally recreated Henry Cavill Superman versus Zod, but replaced it with Sasha Calle Supergirl taking on Zod. So people did not like Man of Steel, did not like BVS. But it looks like the Marchettis, it looks like Barbara and Andy Marchetti have, well, they've actually gone on record and said they've spoke to Zack. It literally looks like, well, we already know, there are some people working on VFX that also worked on Zack Snyder's Justice League. But for people to say they didn't like Man of Steel, didn't like BVS, but all these trailers, to me, it literally looks like a SnyderVerse movie, to be honest. And that is real credit to Andy Marchetti and Barbara Marchetti and the team behind them, because let's be honest, it was supposed to retcon everything, destroy everything. But the way this movie ends, it doesn't really change anything. Sure, Barry ends up in a different universe, but he can always, I mean, you know, anything about the Flash, he can always run back to wherever he feels like it once he controls his powers. So we're going to go over this reaction here. So Chris Parker from 3C Films, really cool YouTuber, had this to say, and this just backs up the fact that it is basically in the Snyderverse. I always say, as excited and hyped as I am to see what James Gunn does with the DCU, it's a shame the DCU is ending. The first 10 to 15 minutes of the movie felt much like an episode of the GLA. Years of clunking world building finally felt like it was starting to pay off. And he's not the only person that said that. A lot of people were saying a lot of different things. Even when Barry does the running, it's like, yo, you would think this was Zack Snyder movie. So that is cool because it's got to realistically be consistent. Now, sure, it's not consistent with Zack's color grading and the lighting and effects like that, because to be honest, in the trailers, the scenes aren't even consistent with themselves. But you can't judge a movie off the trailers because a trailer is a trailer, but you would have thought the trailers would have been top notch. So it's getting the reactions like it is going to be the best DC movie in such a long time, and realistically that would not be a hard thing to beat. But the one thing I do find interesting is when people throw the line around that it's the greatest comic book movie ever. That is such a bold statement, and it doesn't need to be there. It just being a great DC movie is a dub for DC because we've not really had many. I think the last real groundbreaking one was the Joaquin Phoenix, Todd Phillips Joker movie, and that was such a long time ago. I've seen Snyder Bros even saying they would put this movie above Aquaman, above Wonder Woman. So it's getting praise from Snyder Bros, which is fascinating because a lot of the negative comments about The Flash are from Snyder Bros. But when you actually see Snyder Bros and people on the cells like Snyder Justice League 2, Netflix, which is never going to happen, lads. Just give up. Just give up. It's never going to happen. It can't happen. Ever. It can't happen unless Zaslav wants to continue it on HBO Max, which is now called Max. So it is basically a Snyderverse movie, which is cool. And sure, I guess you could say that it kind of retcons the Snyderverse, but not really, because I've not seen one single person say it's disrespectful to Zack Snyder or anything like that. So let's go over a few spoilers now. So what I find fascinating is there's loads of people coming up with fantasy stories in their head saying, yo, there was multiple variations of the same movie. Okay, so let me get it straight. Warner Bros. Discovery, Warner Bros. Are screening multiple different variations of a movie that is coming out theatrically on June the 16th. It is currently May the 24th. So in what world would a studio run a movie with multiple different variations of the movie just before the real movie is shown to press in a week or so? Realistically, do I believe that? No, I don't believe that at all. So there are some people saying, yo, the final cut was shown at the screenings in America. Well, no, it wasn't. Generally at these fan screenings, from what I understand from speaking to a few people, you are somewhat under a non-disclosure agreement, which means you are not publicly in a public domain, in a public space online, drop heavy spoilers. So realistically, this is somewhat going to be the cinema conversion, pretty much. And I do find it fascinating when people make out it's not. So the only difference would be when the press screener comes out. Yo, Wall Street got Wall Street got the press screener. Is there's no post credit, and this is how you know it's factually incorrect, because if it was the final cut, the post credit scenes would be in there, wouldn't they? So the only thing that's going to be different from what I've heard personally from speaking to, I shouldn't really say it, from speaking to someone very reliable, is the post-credit scenes are going to be put into the press screener. and they're going to be put into the real movie that comes out on June the 16th. The ending, because careful spoilers don't ruin your life. So, at the screening that was shown a few days ago, Barry Allen, having fixed the present, Barry races back in time only to find himself in another parallel universe where he encounters a different Batman whose face is not seen, leaving his face very ambiguous, okay? And we all know the rumors, no one specifically started it, but apparently it's going to be War Stew. No, apparently it's going to be George Clooney. But let's step back a little bit here. So, during the movie, Flash races back to 2001. Whilst doing so, he passes through different timelines and universes, leading to cameos from, and most of these are CGI, archive footage, old footage, Christopher Reeve Superman, Adam West, Linda Carter, Nicolas Cage, George Clooney, Teddy Zoom in the Flash movie. So when people are coming out saying, yeah, George Clooney is going to be the face right at the end of the movie, I'm stood here thinking, how's that possible? Because the ending, from what I understand from speaking to people who actually have credibility, says the following. The movie is left ambiguous to who the Batman is, but they're telling me at the same point, yeah, you see George Clooney Batman in the Speed Force, you see Nicolas Cage fighting a spider, so they're going to use George Clooney's stock footage in the Speed Force when he's running through different timelines, universes, but they're just, the big secret is what? George Clooney's going to be revealed to be the Batman at the end of the movie. Get out of here, lads. Get out of here. I mean, that could happen. But realistically, if that's going to happen anyway, everyone under the sun said, yeah, man, it's going to be Christian Bale at the end. And to be honest, why would they hide the fact, if they've already put George Clooney in the movie, in the Speed Force scene, why would they hide the fact that he's really going to appear to be the ambiguous Batman at the end of the movie when the press screen is, when the real cut is shown? Why would they hide that if he's already there? It literally makes no sense. Because they're being so secretive about the real ending, which has not been shown anywhere, and the post-credit scenes. It's got to be either something big, or they are massively overhyping it to make you go and pay to rewatch the movie. Although if you did go to one of these fan screenings, because Warner Bros. Technically would have had to buy the cinema out for that screening, I could understand why it would go towards the box office numbers, because somebody paid for it. So it is fascinating to me how I keep getting sent stuff going, yo, but an insider said this on Twitter. An insider said the final cut was shown. Then I reach out to my real sources who have real jobs in Hollywood, who aren't just on Twitter writing stuff. And they're like, no one has seen the final cut yet, except for people that actually work at Warner Bros., except for people in the movie. No one has actually seen it. Realistically, no one has seen the post-credit scene. So this final cut that everyone is hyping the hell into it, you all think Ben Affleck's going to be the Batman at the end of the movie. Because why are they hiding it? No, stop it. That's not going to happen. And the other day I put a video out saying Grant Gustin could be the Reverse Flash. And people are like, yo, that's wrong. You're wrong because he wasn't in it. Okay, cool story, bro. Let's wait until the final cut is shown, bro. And brosettes. And then we can see if I'm wrong. But like I say, if I'm told something from a reliable source, I will put it on the channel. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen. Information can be wrong, can be right. I'm not a scooper. I don't want to be a scooper. Please, that is a huge insult if you call me a scooper. But can we get this out of the context that George Clooney is the biggest secret at the end of the movie, when the plot information has always said there's a Speed Force scene with every Superman, every Batman, George Clooney, Nicolas Cage, Henry Cavill apparently is in it. Although if they are going there and putting Christopher Reeve Superman archive footage in it, why would the biggest reveal be, yo, it's going to be George Clooney at the end of the movie? Behave, lads. Behave. It can't be that. It's got to be something that nobody knows about, because if that's not the case, then they're just overhyping the shiz into the movie. So if you do want to listen to the whole plot leak, I'll put the video now. That was the CinemaCon footage. I will have a review for the video up. Full spoilers when embargo lifts, for sure. But at the moment, I'm only going over information that's already out there. And for everybody saying, yo, Batfleck and the Batfleck scene where Wonder Woman's been taken out of the movie, as far as I know, that's not the case. It's actually still in there. And as far as I know from everyone online, this is actually a really cool movie. So until the movie actually comes out properly, and until the press have actually seen the movie properly, because that's where the studios are going to use the 5 stars, the Rotten Tomatoes score will be from the press screening. They're not going to use scores and stars from little Jimmy attending the fan screening. So realistically, the fan screeners don't mean much. That's just to build hype from the general concept and to get it trending, etc., which is really cool, and it's a really cool ploy to get away from Ezra Miller's controversy, although he hasn't really been in controversy for over a year now. But does that discredit and should that overlook the fact of what Ezra Miller's done in his personal life? That's not for me to say, but it is what it is. But I am interested. Even if Ezra Miller, The Flash, and Barry Allen absolutely steals the show, although most reports are saying that Michael Keaton steals the show, should they still replace him at the end of the movie? Careful spoilers, don't ruin your life. But apparently, the way the movie ends, it literally makes it clear that Ezra Miller will be the Flash going forward indefinitely. Although that's not set in stone yet, is it? Because James Gunn said, oh, we don't know. You do know, because you made changes, you gave notes, and people are like, yeah, James Gunn had absolutely no input. If this movie is bad, you can't blame him. Well, he did change the ending because the original ending was supposed to be Batfleck getting lost somewhere, and it was supposed to set up Crisis on Infinite Earth. There was supposed to be an ending scene with Henry Cavill Superman, with Gal Gadot, with Jason Momoa Aquaman. There's supposed to be basically a Justice League ending scene that sets up Crisis. So they have had input. DC Studios have had input into this movie because it's factually out there. And we've done a video going over the original ending, etc. ages ago. Check back on the channel. So like always, guys, let me know. What do you think? What do you think is going on? Stop listening to people online and start listening to your boy Woosh. Like always, guys, I'll catch you in another video very soon. We're going to have some Marvel content and some Godzilla X Kong the New Empire content coming out soon. If not before this video, after this video. So like always, guys, I'll catch you in another video very soon. Catch you later.